Dear boomers, today is my wedding anniversary, and my husband died of COVID in 2020 in February the 10th, and I blame Donald Trump for his death. Today would be my brother's 83rd birthday. I believe he died of COVID, and I blame Donald Trump for his death. It doesn't take much to realize that that's what happened. At the time, we were all blissfully unaware of the trouble that was lurking behind the White House where Donald Trump resided. So let me just say that Tim Walz is just an amazing representation of a white guy who is pro rights, pro freedom for every group of American, and always has been. In the 1990s, he was an advocate for his gay students whom he taught. He actually was anti-bully, and he took a stand against anti-bullying and made his school where he taught a safe haven. So this guy was for gay rights. In the 1990s, most of the white guys I knew were homophobic. And my God, is that ever true? Almost anybody, everybody, homophobic. Tim Walz was not homophobic. Another thing about somebody like him, he's been for racial justice. He's been on the right side of democratic values. And he believes in being kind to people. Although he's having a blast making fun of Shady Vance, who is now stalking Kamala at her airplane. They call it a Tomrak or something. He is actually stalking her. He is he's one of the deplorables that Hillary Clinton talked about so often. So, there you have J.D. Vance, Shady Vance, stalking Kamala, and I think they should put an end to that. That is really ridiculous. So, thinking about all the white guys that we've ever known, and as I was growing up, let's think about this. When I was growing up, we had a generation gap. We, in the 60s, branched out, and, yesterday I played When the Moon is in the Seventh House. The dawning of the age of Aquarius was where we were at in the 60s. And it's taken this long to have something even remotely alike the age of Aquarius happen right before our eyes. Happen before our eyes in government, which is amazing. It's a miracle. I can't believe it. So Tim Walz was an excellent pick for Kamala, because all the other, Ivy League types, I really love Josh Shapiro, but I think he has other plans for his life, other than being a vice president. But our very own Tim Walz believes that he can do the best thing possible by supporting Kamala and everything that she does, and he has no aspirations beyond being a VP, but you just never know. He might have to do something to stand in for her. And we pray and hope that they have good Secret Service at all times. So I was thinking back over the years since I've been alive of these VPs that accompanied the presidential picks. Now, all the presidential picks and all of the VPs were just terrible. All of them. They were all bullshitters. That's all there is to it. So you have, when I was born, Truman was president, but I don't remember him. But I do remember Eisenhower. His VP was none other than Tricky Dick. Nobody was ever happy with Tricky Dick, and I don't know why Ike chose him, but they won, so what the hell. Then John F. Kennedy chose LBJ, who turned out to be very good on civil rights, voting rights. The Vietnam War kind of destroyed his presidency when JFK was assassinated. I can't, LBJ my generation gave him hell. But he was not as opposed to demonstrating against the war as Nixon was. LBJ's VP was Hubert Humphrey, who was from Minnesota also. Humphrey was sort of a mysterious character. I think my family was happy with Hubert Humphrey, but I always thought he seems a little wishy-washy and weak. As a child, I could see through these things. Then Nixon himself became president, and Agnew was his vice president, who was a crook just like Nixon. So what are you going to do? Then, with Nixon's second term as president, he had Gerald Ford as his presidential pick. And I did not know this, but Ford's vice presidential pick was Nelson Rockefeller. Jesus, that's unbelievable. But Nelson Rockefeller, as I say, I have no memory of Nelson Rockefeller, except that my family thought he was just out of touch with American values, being so wealthy that he probably had gotten his wealth through nefarious means. Then Jimmy Carter. Mondale was his VP. I think we all liked Mondale, and we certainly all loved Carter. And Carter got the raw end of the shtick with his very progressive values. And by the way, Jimmy Carter is struggling to stay alive until he can vote for Kamala. And I wouldn't be surprised if he dies right after that. You know, the will to live to achieve a goal is a thing. That's where Carter is at right now. Reagan had George H.W. Bush as his VP. My mother's least favorite person in all the world was Ronnie Reagan, and George H.W. Bush, are you kidding me? Was even worse. So then his second term as president, George H.W. Bush, was Dan Quayle. And Dan Quayle was a joke in so many ways. However, lest we forget, Mike Pence couldn't understand that maybe what he was asked to do during the insurrection was illegal, so he went to Dan Quayle to seek counsel as to whether it was okay for him to do what Trump wanted him to do, and Quayle immediately said no. So that's kudos for Quayle. Pence, well, we all know that they almost hung him at the Capitol. Nobody likes to. That's terrible. I'm not a Mike Pence fan, but I was watching that insurrection that day, and they started to talk about hanging him, and they had these, they had, things to hang him on. I don't know. The whole thing was horrible. Then Clinton had Al Gore, which I think Al was okay, but I didn't like the way Al Gore spoke to the American public. Very slow, as if we were a bunch of idiots. So no, I mean, Al Gore was good with the environment, and then he was, I don't know, he could not touch the American spirit as well as a Walz. Walz is, well, I'll get to him in a minute. Then George W. Bush had Dick Cheney as his VP, who apparently was the one who was the real president anyway. He was very hard for anybody to relate to, as far as we were concerned, as the American public could not relate to Dick Cheney at all. Then you had, of course, Barack Obama. The most wonderful, the excitement around Obama's presidency, I should say his campaigning. I think Kamala is reaching that crescendo, that wonderful height, striking notes that have to do with joy, not just joy, but emotional intelligence and creating a future for our country that, thank God, is not only a potential, a huge probability, and is something that we can achieve when we work together. In fact, I'm waiting for 1,000 postcards to come in the mail to send to people all over the country to encourage them to vote. 1,000 postcards is a lot, and I think I'll go down to the Democratic headquarters and share the riches with people. We can sit around and do it together. Of course, we just talked about Donald Trump's VP was Mike Pence. My cousin used to live in Indiana. Oh my God. He let us know who Mike Pence really was, which is this crazy Christian nationalist who was deadly opposed to abortion. So we know about Mike Pence, but I still say he was almost hung at the Capitol that day. Not cool. And of course, Joe had Kamala, and when we say, "Oh my goodness, it's so wonderful to see Kamala and Walz out on the campaign trail," what is so wonderful about that is that we know that this crescendo is happening again. This hope, this wonderful hope that America can be exactly what it's supposed to be. You know, everybody is on an equal playing ground. There's the rule of law. We are ruled by the Constitution, and we are not into lawlessness, as the Trump administration is totally into lawlessness. And he's trying to switch around the rules in this country. Now, Donald Trump has chosen Shady Vance, who I wonder if he's afraid of being hung out in the public spaces. If Trump was going to hang Mike Pence, why wouldn't he want to hang Shady Vance? Good question. Now we have Tim Walz. I have to say that he is probably not an enigma. I believe there are men like him out there who believe in respect, kindness, and joy, love, forgiveness. And he is not the only guy in America who represents this. And so I am fascinated by that, and I want him to succeed. I want to say that when Hillary ran for president, she chose Tim Kaine, who was also very unexciting. So Kamala picked a very exciting person. I mean, they were all great that she could have chosen. But the thing about Walz is he is a common, ordinary human being. He has never used a teleprompter. He is one of those guys who lives his life from the golden rule, which of course he says the golden rule is mind your own damn business, which is, and I think he ran on that slogan before. It's a great slogan. If I were to put a bumper sticker on my car, that would be what it would say. So, what are you going to do, man? This is a great time to be alive. I have never, ever seen anything like it. The reason, I've been around. I've been politically in tune for years and years and years because of my family. They were very, very liberal. And I lived in a very conservative town that, by any stretch of the imagination, everybody knew it was very conservative, except because I lived in a very liberal home. We had just liberal people come over to the home, college professors, people who my mother respected from all walks of life would come, and we would have discussions around the kitchen table. And I always felt like my home, at the heart of it, was a true democracy. However, we had problems with the 60s uprisings, and there's no doubt about it that we were in a pickle. And now our dear little Kamala and Walz are just doing beautifully. I have never been so excited. I've never been happier. I feel unburdened by, remember Trump hovering over Hillary when they were during that debate. She should have turned around and told him to get the hell out of her space. I really wish she had. He was such a horrible bully. So this is the thing. I feel unburdened for the first time in many years. Donald Trump has been around longer than 10 years. He started running for president in 2017. But long before that, he was trying to dictate things that should never have had him. People should ignore that guy. Ignore him. I do not appreciate the amount of press that goes into Donald Trump. It's almost like they want him to win, but now we have our winning ticket, and he is going to lose. Yes, thank you, God. There is going to be a video that shows up right there. Take a look, comment, and I'll talk to you soon.